Hi, everybody. Welcome to Watches with Dennis. And copped out yet again. Given the feedback, though, I did actually have positive feedback on the last Q&A live stream approach that I did a couple of weeks ago. And so I thought, let's go ahead and do it again. There have been some new releases, and I thought about going ahead and hitting on some of that. And I'll go ahead, but while we wait for some comments to come in, though, I know at least one question has arrived before I even went live. So I will get to that. But for those of you watching live, feel free just to throw out ideas. Obviously, those of you watching the recording, you can't because I've already done. But you can always, discuss what items come up during the live stream in the comments. I do go back and read those, and so do a number of people who missed the live stream. A few people. That's a number, a small number, because it's not a very big channel. But this has gone over better than when I did the pre-recorded approach, which I'd get a few ideas if I really pushed for it. But for whatever reason, I think people when they're live, all of a sudden they can just type in chat and go, "Hey, yeah, let's talk a little bit about this." Maybe it feels more interactive, or maybe it's just like it's on the tip of your tongue. You don't have to remember to go back later and submit a question. I don't know how it works. It's a simple world out there after all. But on the wrist today is my Rolex Explorer 2 16570. Had this watch. This will be my 20th year, I believe, since owning this one. Anyway, I had it on yesterday, so I just grabbed it off the desk to go ahead and keep wearing it. First 2 days of the year, actually, I've worn this watch. It is not doing well to make it into my top 5 of 2026, but it did not make it in 2025, so that may not be particularly surprising. Speaking of which, I don't have a link ready for you, but several weeks ago, back in early January, I did release my analytics of the top 5 watches I wore and included graphs straight out of Excel and all the rest of it. So if you are curious about that sort of thing, you can always go back and check that out. So just as a real quick recap of the week before we dive into any questions that might come in while we are out and about doing this live stream. The big thing was the LVMH Watch Week. So Milan, they had a bunch. I don't even remember how many. I think it was over a dozen, but new timepieces that were released. For those that don't know, LVMH represents significant portfolio. It's not the biggest conglomerate of watch manufacturers in general, like Zenith. Zenith is in LVMH. Let me go and name the other ones. Louis Vuitton, they make watches. Tiffany has watches branded under their name. I'm not quite sure if they build them in-house or not. Bulgari, of course, jeweler that's well known for making watches. Tag Heuer. That's probably the one that most people own. And then the most hated one would be Hublot. Those are the ones I'm aware of that are in LVMH. And in fact, I think I've only ever owned one LVMH watch, and that is the Zenith Chronomaster Original that I have as my sole chronograph. I was going to say, like, they're not the biggest in the sense of Swatch has more watch brands underneath its umbrella than LVMH. But as you heard, LVMH does have a couple of heavy hitters. I would say that Tag is without looking at their financials, I would guess Tag is what moves most of their product. And while Hublot is widely disregarded, I'd say primarily thanks to Nico, in the watch enthusiast world, I do think it does a lot. It's kind of like Richard Mille. I think it does a lot better with a certain audience than us, per se. I actually like a few Hublots. I don't like their pricing on a number of them, however. So just one of those aspects. But okay, so the question that has come in and all the replies, I'll go ahead and hit those too while we're at it. That has come from Trudor. So thank you, Trudor, for submitting this. But he asks, have you seen Federico Talks Watch's new project, FTW Collective, a watch channel with paywall, $600 to $1,000 per year? Comments on his channel don't seem very positive. What do you think? And he does follow up saying, it's not about Federico specifically, but about the concept of a paywall watch site. I doubt it could be successful in a world with so much crappy, but also good free content. Orange Hand weighs in saying, buy watches, not content. Donter says, does Federico bump you up the Rolex waitlist for that fee? Smiley face. And I think the short answer would be, unfortunately, on that one, Donter, I think I could safely answer that one. Say no, since he is not an authorized Rolex dealer. He has no ability to bump you up the Rolex wait list, to my knowledge. Back to Trudor's question, I was aware because I remember, I think it was on one of the watch subreddits that I saw someone remark that Federico had the video out that announced this was weeks and weeks ago. I think it was over a month ago, that he had announced that he was going to do this FTW Collective. I didn't remember the name of it. All I remembered is that it was essentially a pay club that would let you have access to certain things. And let me go ahead. He does have a website for it. So let me go ahead and show it to you because I hadn't been to this website until just a few minutes before I went live prepping for the show here. So, he's got this set up. It's open now. People are able to go ahead and basically you're supposedly getting, I say supposedly because I haven't been able to confirm it myself because I'm not a member, that you get exclusive videos that he, is claiming to be less filtered on than he is on his usual YouTube ones. And also some ability to, I think there's some stuff about being able to actually access watches. Here we go. Who is it for? So collectors, people who wants to treat watches as a pursuit, enthusiasts. That's what he's angling it at. So he's offering his information. And then there's deals. So there's also the ability to acquire product. That's a part of this aspect. It sounds like. So, all right. In terms of back to Trudor's baseline question, which is, what do I think about that notion and the notion of the paywall? So twofold. Let me tackle the more specific thing about this, and then let me tackle the paywall thing in general. So regarding this concept itself, especially if it's not just the video aspect, but if he's actually helping people acquire watches, like it's a way to buy watches, it's very difficult for me to not remember when the Timepiece Gentleman tried to do this. And Federico is not the Timepiece Gentleman, and he's weighed in on some of those Timepiece Gentleman controversies. But for those that don't know, because this was years ago, but the Timepiece Gentleman, I mean, even CNN covered the downfall with the whole robbing Peter to pay Paul, selling people's consignment watches and keeping the money to fund his lifestyle. But before all of that was known, and perhaps before all of that was happening, hard to say, the struggle was at one point they went ahead and announced, this was before they really got controversial, because for me, I know I'm rambling a little bit about the Timepiece Channel. It's just, it's such a long story. It's really fascinating too. And to date, my most successful long form video is back when I was an executive director of a nonprofit and I weighed in on their blackout. They did a blackout to create media hype, ostensibly. Before the blackout, though, they had announced they were going to do a Facebook club where you would be able to pay to be a member. I don't remember what the price was. And then the notion was you were going to get better deals on watches being a member of the Timepiece Gentleman's exclusive collective club than you would out on the market. Like it was going to be almost like dealer to dealer pricing was sort of what it was billed as. And they were still broadly liked when that was launched. But I know when I started going back and learning more, you could tell a lot of people were throwing up red flags about this because it didn't make any sense to them. Like if there was real money in selling watches, not at a discount, why would you do a club? Why would you use funding to take a membership fee if you could make more money selling the watch? So the deals couldn't be that good was sort of the thought process at the time. But anyway, it's hard for me to think of watch clubs, collectives, and there have been others that have tried this before Federico and since Timepiece Gentleman. I can't divorce the two in my mind. It's, to me, I find all of those membership clubs that are about trying to let you get a better deal on pricing a little suspect or a lot suspect, depending. So there's that piece. Now, going back out towards this about the idea of paywall watch site, to me, less controversial, but also much more questionable about whether or not it can be successful. So it's weird. And I'm of mixed opinions of it because obviously to a degree, lots of us do this. I do this, right? Like, what do you think the 99-cent club is, if not a paywall? Now you could say my paywall is so approachable as to be laughable, but it is still a paywall. Now, I don't generally, other than giving you special badges and, liking to shout out people who support me through that, I don't really put things behind the paywall, but I have on occasion launched videos, say 24 hours in advance to those members It's on a whim if I do it or don't. It's not a promised piece of content. For 99 cents, you don't get a lot of promises. That's kind of my role. But I'll give you another example. I do two actually podcasts, both involving pinball. One of them that I do, the more successful one, is with, much like Federico, is a dealer. That he's an authorized dealer of pinball machines. And 2.5 years ago, maybe I think it was 2.5 years ago, we finally launched Patreon. And when we launched on Patreon, we were one of the later pinball podcasts to do it. But when we did it, we set up 3 tiers. And I'll be quite open with you about it. One of those tiers is extremely expensive. So we have a $10 tier, and the $10 tier gets you, kind of like what this website's talking about, exclusive access to, we record an additional piece of content, usually 20 to 30 minutes long. The average show is 1.5 to 2.5 hours. But we do another 20 to 30 minutes on some topic. And you have to be a member to get that. We don't put that out later. You have to be a member, and it's $10 a month. And we have a $25 a month tier. And that $25 a month tier gets that. But they also, once a month, we call it a happy hour live stream, where we will, for one, sometimes two, but at least 1 hour, once a month, anyone at that level or higher gets to come on and talk to both of us live on anything that they want to discuss. And then our third tier is $100 a month. And we have members at that level. And those individuals get, they like get a shirt, they get special nicknames shouted out, funny little joking, you think like why pay for that much more? They just do it because they want to support the show is why. Like I never honestly thought anyone would ever pay $100 a month for something like that. And people don't stick with it long term. In many instances, they'll do it for a while because they then get their shirt or whatever. But it generates way more money than we would ever make with advertising. We have our channel on YouTube now, but I don't even think we've monetized that channel. But the Patreon is the source of income. So in that regard, the idea here of Federico offering videos for a fee does make sense to me. Do I think having to pay a minimum of, I think what was claimed here, $600 per year to, I'm assuming that gets you the videos. That is very high compared to most other things I have seen to get access to additional exclusive content. Usually that's on the more affordable end of $5 to $10 a month out of most entities that I am aware of. But it's not unusual. And it will probably, if people are really into it, I mean, Federico's got a couple of things going for him, right? Specifically. So I know Trudor said this wasn't really about Federico Talks Watches, but just the concept. But you have to bear in mind that like he's got over 100,000 subs. Like he's got an audience where this may work. There may be people who like him enough as a human being to want to do something like this, not really for the deal, but just really to support him. I'm not aware of him doing like a YouTube membership. He might. I don't know. I don't know if he does a Patreon. So if he doesn't have those options, this might be the route that everyone funnels in through just to show support, because Federico's reputation on YouTube is that he's the dealer who tells you like honestly what his thoughts are. Like he's the honest dealer. And that could be a powerful angle if you believe that he really is being honest and the other ones are only saying nice things all the time. Like there's cachet there that you can possibly monetize. Whether this works or not, I have no idea. But so I get that notion. So I don't fault him for trying it. The part about being able to get access to watches always feels weird to me, but that's really because of the Timepiece Gentleman. And I am incapable mentally of separating the two ideas. There's always been something very grifty to me about secondhand watch dealing in many instances. It just, especially when you're slinging the watches on YouTube, that's an aspect that never has sat as well with me. And how they approach it varies. And like, I've never really got that vibe from Federico, just like Tim Masso doing reviews on 1916 Company. Again, all right, he's not really saying negatives about watches on that, but it's a good way to, get close-ups of the material. And it doesn't feel like it's demanding that you buy the watch sort of thing versus the day in the life of the dealer stuff. I never liked that. I hated that format. And I think the reason is, one, I've never really been into that style anyway. But the second was, there was always this impression given to you from Roman all on the way down, I would say, because they're talking about such large dollar amounts. You start to get the impression like the dealers are rich people too. And That's not how it is in most industries. The people at Tivol trying to sell me tutors aren't rich people. They're working people. That's why they work at a store. So there was always this whole like, if you're a dealer, if you're a backpack dealer, slinging watches, was all during COVID. You're gonna, you can drive, the Lamborghinis and the Ferraris will be yours, and you can ride on a Ducati. And it's like, where did any of this come from? Like, when did this become a thing that people who sell stuff for a living are supposed to be rich? Like, and it just all got into that whole grind culture and all the rest of it. I've never gotten that vibe out of Federico. That was never his style of channel. But this, the one thing I thought was sort of interesting is he did have a notation on here about what he would be doing with the material. And I'm trying to see if I can. It might have been on the page before I actually popped up on this. Here it is. Inside FTW, you get exclusive access to Fed Unfiltered, the insights and opinions he can't say on YouTube, which is a little interesting to me because Fred's reputation is he says whatever on YouTube. Like, he's already direct. So since his reputation is that he's already direct on YouTube, how many people will believe that he can honestly be much more direct? I'm not saying he couldn't. He probably is pulling his punches on a number of things, but it's kind of funny because the reputation already is. The free channel gives you that. So why do you need to do the paid channel to get that? I don't think that's the main reason. I don't think that's the main selling point, but that would definitely be a selling point for a Patreon to try and get you to get access to member exclusive videos, which I think he could do very well because he's got the audience to really capitalize on it. I wouldn't be able to get anywhere with that. On my channel, I don't have 5,000 subs. I don't have the volume to pull that off. Not to mention, he is an industry insider. He actually sells watches, so he has there will be a built-in belief that he has expertise. I don't have that. I am a hobbyist through and through. I admit it. So people come here. Who knows why you guys come here? But it isn't that I'm some sort of watch expert that works in the industry, because I don't. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that one. Hey, Duncan, welcome. And thank you for being an ISET club member. We just got done talking all about that. So he continues, Federico is charging $600 to join a group who will have the honor of being allowed to buy stock he can't sell to anyone else at wholesale prices. That's interesting that you bring that up. I do remember there was one video and the people commented on it. I think again, I saw it on, I do sub to Federico. I like his channel. I like his Q&As actually. This idea of Q&A, not this live stream one, but when I've tried to do them before, was inspired by, hey, I really like watching that format. Let me see if I can do that format. But he gets questions real easy, and I get questions like pulling teeth. So it doesn't work the same way. But I remember one time he was explaining watches and pricing. He was trying to, it was an episode I don't usually watch. It was one of those episodes where he was really just trying to push product that he hadn't been able to move. And at one point he made a remark, kind of joking, he was laughing, but he was like, he talked about the type of people who will, ask him he doesn't do a lot of reductions. He doesn't do a lot of negotiation because he lists his price so low, is what he has said. But he said something one time that kind of bugged me just a little bit as a consumer. And it was that he wasn't going to put the watch down below what he paid for it, because that doesn't make any business sense. And I'm like, well, it does if you bought a bad deal. Like, if you as the dealer bought a watch and it lost a ton of value, it does make sense to sell it at a loss and just get it out of there, get what cash you can, because cash on hand is more useful than a watch in a safe. So I found it a somewhat absurd statement, quite frankly. I understood on the most basic level, like the logic, like a business 101, never sell something for less than you paid for it. Yeah, sure. Except this, when you're dealing with like commodity style pricing and things go up and down, how many of those dealers bought in, May or I'll say April of 2020, March 2023, bought Rolexes. And then, they're still worth more than they were at the start of the pandemic, but they went way down from that price. Are they all just sitting in saves, or did those people just sell them at losses and go, you know what, I guessed wrong? But I've had two instances. I don't know if it's true or not. They could have been, lying to me or not, or didn't remember. But I had two instances with secondhand watch dealers who sold me a watch and mentioned that it was less than what they had bought it for. Now, I think in one of those instances, they said it was like $200 less, and it was a multi-$1,000 watch. So Was it true or not? I don't know. But I do know it had been sitting on their website for quite a while. And so again, at some point, cutting your losses makes sense. I do wonder if that the catalog at his site, maybe at Delray Watch, is as big as it is, because if he's marked things down, but he absolutely refuses to ever lose, I mean, you're going to be sitting on stuff for quite a while in that case, maybe forever, hypothetically. But anyway, it is what it is. But interesting thing. But yeah, that statement always. But I don't work in the industry. I've worked in government and nonprofit my entire professional career. So me selling stuff isn't something that I have a lot of familiarity with. Trudor adds, just saw this watch, that watch about how YouTubers make money. Very interesting. I saw that was up. I have not had time to go and watch it yet. I can tell you how I make money. If he covered it or not, it's very simple. I make money off of YouTube ads. I don't have any deals. I don't point people to, I don't have affiliate links. Any links I ever put in the video description are not affiliate links. You're obligated legally in the US to declare it if you were to do that. But mine are not. So it's mostly ad revenue. And I have like a dozen, I think 13 currently 99-cent club members. So I get, a portion of the 99 cents that YouTube doesn't keep. I get most of it on that. And that is how almost all the channel's money comes in. I also make a little bit of money on t-shirts, but we're talking like less than $50 a year. So that's kind of what this, a small channel like this, I'll probably I could do the analytics if you want. I haven't looked for 2025. I would guess I've probably pull like 1,000 to 1,200 a year. It's really low. This is a very small channel. So I'm imagining he actually went and talked about some big ones. I think in the video clip, I think he had Bark and Jack, or I think he's renamed that channel since then. But like that, like he has like Federico, he's got real subs. This is baby subs. This is a fun channel. This is not a business. I would never be able to make YouTube my career, nor would I ever want to, quite frankly, which is just as well. I don't have the talent for it. MCart, welcome to the live stream. Says, so Federico watch OnlyFans. He tried this during COVID era while stripping. If he tried this during the COVID era, he would have been very rich by now. Those times are gone. Nobody cares about the watches now. There's still some, if he had a lot of Rolex, certain Pateks and stuff, APs, there would be the room to possibly do something along these lines. He historically, that I can recall on his, because I've never bought from Delray, but I've looked at it. So I have it bookmarked as one of the places I like to go and look. But his stuff tends to skew more odd than that. So yeah, I would agree. MCart, like that, the ideal time to do it is definitely sailed. Cloudcan, hey, hello back. Glad you stopped in to say hi. Hope things are going well for you. Orange Hand, there are so many amazing free blogs, podcasts, and enthusiast forums out there. I don't know why anyone would pay for content. It's the idea that you're getting something that you're not getting from those other places. That would be the main motivating factor. That the people on Watch Crunch, on what's the one? Is it? I can't remember. I want to say Watch You Seek, but there's a forum. I am a member of it, but I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But the Watch You Seek. Yeah, it's Watch You Seek. I looked at my bookmarks just now. Like that. Well, but there aren't dealers there telling you like how it really is. They're just a bunch of collectors going around telling you collector stuff. I mean, okay, maybe that notion of that Federico's giving you something that you're not going to get on those forums. And it's not too unusual either. We've seen this. Adrian with a blog to watch has or Ariel, not Adrian, excuse me. Still thinking of Bark and Jack. He's touched on this a few times about trying to run a watch website, and the expectation, as you have rightly and wisely noted, is, hey, this is stuff I'm not supposed to pay. We see newspapers struggle with this. I want to be able to sell subs. Like CNN has exclusive, like they're even doing it. They have here, you can read the regular articles, but there are certain ones that are only for subscribers. The in-depth stuff's only for subscribers. And Ariel wishes that the culture existed to be able to say, hey, instead of selling a membership, if you want to read an article and you get 25, you pay 25 cents and you read an article, that might be viable. But with how credit cards get charged and everything, like that's not fee-based wise, it's not. The reason why there's a 99-cent club for this channel is I can't make it 98 cents. Last when I set it up, 99 was the lowest I could do, which is understandable because you have to bear in mind like the credit card processing fees and percentages and all the rest that would go into it for YouTube. At some point, they would actually pay more in credit card transactions than the amount would be raised. So that's why there are those sort of hard limits. I think Patreon doesn't let you charge less than $1 for that same reason. So those sort of things come into play also. But I agree, Orange Hand. Like I've never felt compelled to purchase watch content because there is so much free stuff out there, and it's not direct. Like there's good stuff. Yeah, there's at this point I wonder if Watch Pro is written 80% by AI, but so a lot of the other ones have actual people, actual journalistically trained people, or so they appear to be, actually writing about watches. I have my judgments on how some of them are staying afloat because they're not making money off those articles. You start seeing those things like Fratello and the endless collaborations that they're constantly doing, and all the rest of it. And hey, this site that sells straps, and they've gotten into bed with a lot of pieces of the watch industry to make their money, and that can raise questions about their journalistic integrity. But that is a whole other can of worms that we can get into, I guess, if people want, but not sure that's what everyone wanted to talk about today. Donters asks, Dennis, are there any celebrities who you admire for their watch collection? Not off the top of my head. I don't really know a lot of celebrities that, like, I know of celebrities that collect, the John Mayers, the Kevin O'Learys, all, but I don't know inherently, like, I'm like, wow, you've got really, really good taste in your collection. I mean, most of them that I've seen when they collect, Fred Savage, I like at least some of the watches in their collections. I can't think of anyone that I've ever seen. And granted, I don't go and watch all the celebrity like interviews and the, like the Hodinkee series where they would look at, I've watched a number of those, but, it gets a lot of them. It's tough. I guess the way I kind of like it is, and I know this isn't really answering your question because I'm not going to name you a specific person, though. I think Fred was like this with some of his watches where they weren't all just like, hey, look, I'm really successful, and thus I'm buying a whole bunch of expensive watches. But he still actually had watches in his collection that represented something that wasn't, I finally have money. Because I totally understand wanting watches that show that you've been successful. And I definitely am not one to throw stones given the cost of some of my watches. But I like the idea of seeing people that are also like, yeah, but I have this Casio and I wear it still and that sort of thing. I don't know. It feels a little more real in the sense that they're not trying to project something. Whereas if I just see a box of, hey, look, I got all of the rare like 3-line text Rolexes from the 60s, and here's the 3 different Nautilus I own now. They're barely different from one another, but it just spoke to me so much. It's hard for me to see I guess, sort of the truth in it. But that's not to say that truth isn't actually there, because I know plenty of people that it's not a high dollar thing, but I'll watch their state of the collection and it's 50 watches and they're all Seikos. And I have the same reaction. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Why would you ever own one brand? To me, unless it's one watch, why would you ever just own one brand? I have the same reaction to the Rolex people, but at least with them, I could understand that they're too scared to lose money. So there's a financial motivator that is logical to me. With the Seiko, I'm always like, I mean, they make some really good watches and they have more case variety than Rolex does, but 50, some people, that's the way they collect. Like that's what they truly love. And I know that's authentic. It's just when I see it, that's not my gut reaction. My gut reaction is, where's the variety? But someone else might look at my collection and go, why are you bouncing around? Do you not have taste? Why are you bouncing to so many different brands all the time? I don't own more than 2 of anything from the same brand. And then it starts to be like, okay, so are you fickle? Like I could see someone going, like, what's with Dennis? It's like he can't pick a lane, or he doesn't know what's good. So he owns something from everyone. Like the same judgment can be made on me. And so I'm aware of that. And I guess awareness is half the battle, or maybe 3/4 of the battle. I'm not sure. Maybe it's not a battle at all. So there's that. let's see. Oh, or Donatars follows up with or other YouTubers. Yeah, that's interesting in terms of other YouTuber. I actually like some of Federico's collection. Like his taste is pretty interesting. He kind of skews towards dress watches a bit, which I think is maybe why we're kind of in sync on that. Um, so he's the one that mostly jumps out. Brett Pierce, I like a lot of the watches she ends up picking, though. She does end up kind of falling in a her and Adrian kind of in a lot of ways I view they like a lot of real mainstream stuff. Adrian, I will say, Adrian Barker, he and I both tend to lean pretty conservative in watch designs. I'm trying to open my brain up to more avant-garde stuff. But his a lot of his initial choices that he goes with make sense to me. I'd say maybe I go a little less mainstream than he does, but we still both fundamentally go with what I would describe as very conservative dials, very conservative case designs. So I tend to like, I would be very happy with his collection. Like almost everything he picks, I find uh, pleasing to look at. So I guess those would maybe be some that I would point out. Trudor asks, what watch YouTubers do I watch regularly? Regularly. Okay. I do typically try and catch this watch, that watch. If it's though I do lately pick based off of the topic, if the topic's interesting to me. What is it? I think it's called the Japanese Factory. They do a lot of like asking people around Tokyo what they're wearing and go to some of the vintage shops. Over the last few months, I added them, and I really like watching that. Just I don't know, they seem like they're having a lot of fun, so it's sort of fun to watch them go and just ask, "Hey, what are you wearing?" Like, do you know anything about it? And I'm all like, no, this was a gift. I don't know anything about watches. Like the real world. That's how the real world is. So I like them. I do tend to, for Federico, if it's a Q&A, I'll watch it. If it's not a Q&A, I usually won't, but I do regularly watch his Q&A videos when he puts those out. I enjoy that format a lot, and I think he does it really well. So I like that. And let's see, I think I do not watch a lot of the YouTube channels regularly anymore. It's more topic driven. If I want to see an interesting topic, or if there's a watch I want to learn about, I'll just start loading up all sorts of people. Was it Timepieces with Tony? He does a Q&A format. I like Federico's style more. Maybe it's because it's more of a dealer perspective, but Tony feels really authentic too. And he's real chill. He's got a really good chill vibe. So I do enjoy that channel, and I do tend to watch those. Those are the ones that are jumping out to me mostly. So yeah. So those are the ones I regularly watch, I guess. Remus, thank you for being a club member, by the way. Do appreciate it. You'd think that the dealers would pay a lot to have access to uninformed individual collectors. Yeah, I would think that. But I think, again, if we go back to Federico's FTW collective, who is this for? Was really, he's trying to target people that are informed. That it's an interesting angle. Is it going to pay off Cotton? Well, it's a bold move. We'll have to see. But that's his stance, is this thing that he's asking money from is because the person's already informed. It's interesting, but the idea is you have to be in deep to pay. There's nobody who's new that doesn't know anything about watches going to join FTW Collective. I'll go out and say that. It's not marketed to them. The value proposition would make no sense to them. Like, think back to when you first got into watches, and what was your biggest concern? I don't know. I guess I'm asking you, what was your biggest concern? I'll tell you, with luxury watches, my biggest concern when I bought this, 20 years ago, this used Rolex was, is this real? And I bought it from a brick and mortar jeweler that is still operating in the Kansas City area. But I was still paranoid about it, even though I came with a box and it came with papers. And I was satisfied once I had that. I didn't know how to take the bracelet off. I took it to like a mall watch bracelet place and had them take it off just so I could check the serial number against the papers. That's what I did. And I actually took it to one place I couldn't get the bracelet off. And he was like, this might be fake. He was unsure. And I was like, that doesn't make me feel good. And then I went to an authorized dealer and they were like, no, it looks like it's fine, especially if you got papers. But anyway, and then ultimately when I finally had it serviced by the dealer, there was no issue. But by then I understood. But like, who was cloning Explorer 2s back then anyway? They weren't worth anything. But anyway, that was what I was concerned with, not like getting the best deal on a watch. It was like, is what I'm buying real? Is that was what it is. And I wasn't a collector until like 5 years ago. I only had that watch for a really long time. Well, I had a couple like throwaway watches, but anyway, it's just one of those things. MCART. Federico is just a watch flipper who uses YouTube to promote his company. Making money off YouTube is his second financial stream. Sure, I mean, Teddy is that way too. I guess you could say the difference is Teddy didn't start as a dealer, but now that Teddy is a dealer, surely he's making way more money than he does. I mean, he pours a lot of money into his YouTube channel, right? Like he's got people doing all this stuff. Like he may be the voice of it, but someone else is doing the editing. I think someone else is doing the shooting. Like it's not like low rent like that. Like here, here are my two giant lights and my Yeti microphone and my Brio Logitech webcam, and I use a little portable cam when I do the 4K stuff, and I've got an old Sony handy cam that I use when I do the distance stuff pre-recorded because it likes the light better than, well, I didn't have this webcam until just a few months ago. But anyway, I'm rambling. Like it's, I get it. Yeah, Federico is he's about, I mean, that's what a lot of the watch content that we rely on is. And when it's not that, they're selling something else a lot of times, the big ones, right? And some of them, again, maybe got into it for enthusiasm. Adrian might be an example, but he pushes his straps, right? He probably makes more off his straps than he does off of YouTube. I don't know if that's true or not. Watches have a bigger margin, so I would think, than a watch strap, but I don't know that because I never sold a strap. So how would I know? I know there's some pretty big markups on them if you start looking at AliExpress to see what you can actually get some of them for. And I've started to buy them that way too. Donter says, I have watched the Urban Gentry since before 2020 because I like his editing and personality, but not sure how I feel about the latest directions of his collecting and topics. That's an interesting one. I do like to watch the ones where he's with Mark with Long Island Watch because I think he does very well in a collaborative approach. His editing, Urban Gentry's editing, you're right. Excellent editor, and does his own editing. This is trite, and if he ever watches this, I mean no offense whatsoever. I cannot get into the T-Rex. I don't care. It doesn't work for me. I always fast forward a minute when I start his videos that are not the collaborative ones because I know it's going to be in there, and I don't care. But he seems like a big movie buff, and I love movies too. So you'd think we would, but I don't know. Something about a T-Rex just annoys me. His collecting, I don't know. My issue, it's not really an issue. I view collecting differently than he does. So he's really into like the history and heritage, and I am not in the same way. I'm not like this, like a spec monster person either, where it's what's the best deal you could get for all, like I want the maximum water resistance and 316L steel, and I want it the cheapest price ever. I'm not that either. But I'm somewhere in between, but I don't fall in love with the history of the watch brands, and he seems to, and so he just comes at collecting from a very different way. But he has an enthusiasm, probably a more exciting enthusiasm than I can muster in hobbies. I'm just not excitable enough, I suppose, unless I see dead people in lawn chairs advertising watches, or I go to see jewelers that end up going and buying Baume and Mercier and finding out that they are using blood donation stones to somehow sell watches. Very, very weird thing. Patrick with Pocket Watch Time. Hello. Hope things are going well. I did finally this morning. I was able to watch your Christopher Ward cross Studio Underdog Pocket Watch review. Very lemonade-y. That is what I will say. Let's see. There is Aussie. Welcome, Aussie. The best video I recall is this Aussie farmer that showed his family's collection of Daytonas. It was amazing. Daytona, 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 Daytona. That is fascinating. Now, I have seen some people that have a lot of Daytonas. I've never seen anyone that only had straight Daytonas. And as you noted, you're only 3 Daytonas at the moment. I cannot imagine myself owning more than one Daytona. I can't do it. The same way I can't imagine owning more than one Submariner or a GMT Master. And you see that more often. I think you would agree. Like people are like, oh, I've got the Batman. And then I also have to have a Pepsi, right? Have to have a Pepsi. Oh, maybe I bought a classic Coke while I was at it. I got the Coke as well. Oh, I don't know if I'm feeling the Bruce Wayne, but my dealer offered it to me. So, I went in and pulled the trigger because I'm not really going to lose money on it. Then the next thing you know, you got 4 GMT Master 2s. And I'm like, I think one's okay. I don't have one. I'd be happy to have one. I wouldn't want two. They just look too alike. And that's for me, I can't. But again, my little like magpie grabbing shiny stuff collecting strategy isn't going to work forever. I'll be like, okay, yeah, it's like I looked at it. I like the Patek Calatrava, right? It's the hobnail, all that, like the classic one, not the pilot looking ones. And I still like it. Like I really like the way it looks. But because I have a Gondolo, I am really loath to buy another Patek. Like I'm like, I might as well get a Vacheron Traditional. I'm going to get the same shape that I'm looking for here, and maybe do that and have a Vacheron because I've never owned Vacheron. For me, it's always about it's the grass is always greener. What about that next company over the hill that I haven't tried yet? But we all have our own ways. So Patrick says, what about a guy with 10 Seikos? I would probably say that's about at least 5 Seikos more than I would ever envision owning. I'm trying to be really, really generous. I have looked at more Seikos. I already have 2. And again, I've noted I only have 2 of any brand, but I really can see falling down the Seiko rabbit hole to a degree. So let me put it like this. For me, it's not about the number of Seikos you have. It's about the percentage they are of your collection. As long as they're less than 50%, you're okay still. Otherwise, you've been trapped by Big Seiko. They got you, and they're never going to let you go. So be careful about Big Seiko. It's out there. Donter says, I love Tom Segura as a comedian, but it seems like he just buys every watch. I think I heard his video, an interview with him. I love Brad Pitt's collection and the fact that he popularized the 222. Jeff Goldblum has awesome style and only rocks a Cartier tank. Yeah, I think it was, is it Ryan Gosling who I think it's Ryan Gosling who's shown up a few things, often wearing some old vintage, like 34 millimeter Rolex Datejust. It's kind of like, he likes to, pulling that off, able to pull that off comfortably. I used to have a little 34 millimeter OP, the prior generation where it was the cushion case. Those actually, I measured it. It was more like 35, but they build them as 34s. But it wore really well too. But the prices got high and I wasn't wearing it enough, so I let it go. Al, thank you for being a club member, by the way. And my club member, I don't know if you're an FTW Collective club member. Dennis, can you see yourself ever trying a Garmin or Apple Watch? Not an Apple Watch. No, I don't see it. Garmin, yeah, maybe. I'd probably end up with a Fitbit if I was going to do something like that. But it's tough for me. So here's the thing. And a lot of you may very well use it, so feel free to push back on me. But I think most people who get these things, it's like, it measures my this and my that. And I'm like, yeah, but what do you like? Do you really use it? Like, you use it, I get it. And you probably look at it, but like, what is it? Does that level of detail about your biometrics really mean a lot to you in a substantive way? Let me give you a counter example. So when I go, like, if I want to say I'm going to go exercise, I'm going to go out for a walk. I'll take my Google, I have a Pixel, take my little Pixel, and I'll put it on the fitness app tracker, and I'll say, I'm now going to take a walk. And it does the little GPS measurement. The phone does. I just put it in my pocket. And so when I get done, it lets me know what it believes my number of steps were, number of calories I burned. That's enough. I don't need the Garmin to do the measurements and then tell me what my heart rate got up to. I don't care what my heart rate got up to. What am I going to do differently? My heart rate, like, it wasn't as high as I wanted. Well, I knew I wasn't jogging. I could have chosen that I was going to jog the route instead, but I didn't do that. So for me, I don't need it to, like, you can look up online, like, the approximate number of calories you're going to burn lifting X amount of weight. I don't need the device to tell me math. I can math it myself. It's all an approximation anyway. So that's kind of why I've not really gravitated towards those things. Not to mention, you have to keep charging them. I already charge enough stuff. I have to charge my Kindle. I have to charge my phone. I have to charge these cameras that I use for this channel. I have to, I don't want to have to remember to charge my watch. So I have a whole host of reasons. But they're deeply popular. So I get other people may have them integrated better into their lives than I would probably find use for. Aussie says, I'm currently putting together a review of the Galaxy Watch 8. It is not going to be pretty. Well, looks weren't what it was going for. That's what I'll say. I'll have to see what your review ends up being. Patrick says, but if they're informed, they should know better than to buy in that. He's going back to our gateway question, which was buying into the FTW collective. Well, I mean, we don't know how many people are doing this, do we? Like, right? We don't know how successful it is, and we probably never will. I like this that so there's an attempt at false scarcity by saying membership is capped, but clearly we've not reached that yet. So $69 a month. That's all right. That's somewhat funny, I suppose. So, all right. So, okay. So he does have marketplace access. So that's the little thing that's going on here. And the live stream stuff. But all right. Yeah. I don't know. It's a lot. I think this is a little high for live stream access. $49 a month. The access to the watches dealer market ship. I don't know. I wouldn't do it, but I don't have any answers for you. I'm skeptical it will generate much for him, but I could be wrong. People love stuff that I don't ever understand. I'm a different style collector, I suppose. But we all are, right? Aussie says, Teddy is amazing. Getting the scoop and exclusive on the Land Dweller is a huge milestone for YouTubers in general. Teddy has, I don't watch him regularly, but I do like his channel. I mean, it's broadly appealing. Obviously, from his subs, has been his strategy. So I think for a lot of enthusiasts, it's going to feel a little vanilla, but that's understandable because of you can't be nuanced and get really in the weeds and niche on stuff and really resonate with a broad audience. So and I love his lighting's great, his content's great, his scripts are good. I sometimes will just listen to the top lists that he puts together, even though those lists often are the same watches over and over and over again. Again, when you do lists, you're gonna constantly be running into that, right? So I guess I didn't really need to put this full screen, but in case you wanted to see the pricing tiers on what we were talking about, I'll go ahead and do that. Also gives me an opportunity to take a drink and you not watch me hold up my Dr. Pepper Zero. Thank you very much. So now we're back. All right. The let's see. Patrick says the hashtag no T-Rex club. I wish I liked the T-Rex. I just don't. Aussie says history is a nice way to get into a watch, but ultimately you don't wear history, you wear the watch. Hence, I sold my Speedy. Overrated. Yeah. I mean, it can be interesting. And it gives you a story to tell about your watch. But much like what you noted, like how often do you really get to tell your watch's story? Do you have people coming up to you all the time asking about watches who aren't already into watches? I don't. It's such that, and people joke about it, like nobody notices your watch but you, and that's generally true. Like I know which ones people have asked me about. Like I can tell you that I've had more people ask me about the Mr. Jones Ricochet watch than any other watch, all the watches I've owned combined. But I wore it to a pinball event, so it just begged to be asked. And the gilt foil robots are going to call attention to itself. I can tell you that in the 20 years I've owned this Rolex Explorer 2, and for like 14 of those, basically the only watch I wore, I've only been asked or complimented on it twice. I can tell you that I have had that milestone hit with the Moser Pioneer Funky Blue dial in much less time. But that watch has gotten people asked about. I can tell you I've had one person who was a worker at Chipotle ask me about the Zenith Chronomaster original I was wearing. I could tell you no one has ever asked me about the Patek Gondola. And I can tell you no one's ever asked me about the Glasuta 60s one that I got last year. I could tell you that no one's ever asked me about any of the Seikos I've owned. But I can say that someone has asked me about the Longa once. So it's we pay attention when people who are not one of us actually ask about our watches. It is not very often when you think about all the years I've worn watches and how few times it's actually come up. But Underachieving asks, is Dennis dinophobic? I fear that I might be at least T-Rexophobic. Not sure. John says, in addition, Dennis, I like the Watch Hangout. Bobby Legs, Bill Sanders. Not interested in YouTubers who are selling anything. Watch Hangout, I don't regularly watch. I catch it from time to time. I like a lot of the people that go on there, but most of the times when I click on it, it's on a tangent that's not about watches. And so, and as long as those streams go, and they do a lot of them, I'm not surprised, but it just, I don't know. It's very chill. It's a little, yeah, again, you guys see my personality. I try so hard to stay focused, and I feel bad every time I do a pinball analogy. But we all make our mistakes. But I try and stay on topic, so to speak. And that's part of the reason why a lot of these live streams I do by myself. And I try and have some sort of structure or give it some sort of theme to kind of run with, so that we can all kind of latch onto that. And the people that don't like that one can just not watch, and then maybe they'll like the next one instead. Bobby's panel stuff where they like talk about like the top videos. I think, I don't know if the channel changed or something. I used to see it in my feed and I would watch it, and then I haven't been lately. So maybe I need to check my settings or something, but I haven't been seeing it around anymore. Bill's great. Again, I usually pick it based off of the topic of discussion, and I don't make his live streams. So that's when I'll go back and watch the live streams recorded. I don't regularly watch though. It's usually, I have to feel like I want to go into, he's so knowledgeable. It's mostly when I'm interested in a particular like movement thing, I'll find out he's covered it, and then I will go and kind of dive into that because I know he's going to do a real good job covering it. I really like his personality too. It's really, that's a person where he's got a extremely high-end collection and feels in no way pretentious, which I always like that. I didn't come from a wealthy family, so I always just, I don't know, when it just feels like, of course my dealer, he had they only had the platinum Daytona. I'm like, oh, I guess I'll go ahead and get it. And it's kind of like, okay, well, I guess when you're flying to Dubai on your G5, that's no problem. But, regardless of the price of my watches, I have to really think about each one of those purchases that I do. So, but we all come from different circumstances, of course. All right. So let's see. There is Donter says the hashtag no T-Rex club has been successful for 66 million years. Yes. That's very fair. I forget which period they're from. Were the T-Rexes actually the Jurassic period, or did we just like say Jurassic because of Jurassic Park and they were actually in a different period? I don't know. I never got that big into dinosaurs. I was more into planets and space stuff as a kid, but I had my little period with dinosaurs, but I just don't remember very well. Aussie says, yeah, I got two Submariner dates, two GMTs. I do look at selling one of each down the line, but probably adding Motor Daytona. Well, at least you have a path. And the point is to follow the path that makes the most sense for you, not the path that makes the most sense for me. Except for me, I should follow my path, or else that would make really no sense. Trudor says, love Mark from Island Watch, although he is a dealer, but he's open about it. Like it's different, right? If you feel like someone's trying to pull the wool over your eyes, that's what makes people upset. It feels grifty. When everyone's like, yeah, no, this is what I do. And Mark's always been super transparent. Yeah, no, I know I'm not the least expensive place, but like, this is what I do for my clients. And if you want to find the absolute bottom dollar, Seiko, you will find it somewhere else versus what I'm offering it for. But you get me as the distributor and my guarantees and my ability to help you if something goes wrong. My friend who deals in pinball machines, that's his angle too. A lot of people like to buy from him because they trust him to make it right if something goes wrong. And in pinball, it goes wrong a lot because freight damages pinball machines all the time. Less so in watches, but that there's value to that. And so Mark feels authentic because he tells you, like, he shows you his math. He showed you the math on his tariffs. Like, he's pretty transparent because he's not treating everything like he keeps some things, hidden, but other stuff, he feels like he shares more than others, where like you have no sense if 1916 company does well. Like, did they do well on purchase, their stake in De Bethune? My vibe is no, that was a mistake on their part, but they sure aren't talking about it. Whereas you get more of the sense that, like, if Mark had a deal with, let's say Marathon, and all of a sudden Marathon went under, it wouldn't be surprising if he started talking about like, oh, here are the signs, we saw when our trying to get supply and it was 6 months late. And no, this was a made up example. I've heard nothing bad about Marathon's business state. So just as an example, folks. But let me put a disclaimer in there. Cool Electable says, hi, all. I was wondering what is the weirdest shaped watch that is on your want list, Dennis? I know you like square ones a lot, but there are any odd shaped ones on your hunt list? Odd shaped, yes. Let me see if I can Google one up for you. It's not going to be like super duper weird, but it's probably weird enough that most of you wouldn't want it yourselves, is going to be my guess. But in fact, I think this might be one of the very ones that let me see if I can load one up for you that I have kept my eye on for a while. Here you go. Here you go. The Vacheron Malt with the tonneau shaped case. I have never really, in my view, never really owned a tonneau style watch. But in fact, this is the one I really like. Usually find them over. That's way too much money for that watch. You can usually see them on occasion in Hong Kong for around 12,000. Not that one. I like this white gold one with the slate dial. But yeah, this style, this shape, this is one that that I've thought about a few times. It's fallen down on the list at this point simply because I have to also imagine, because again, I said like you can get them around like $12,000. It's still $12,000. How often would I wear it? I wear the Patek Gondolo a lot. Like I like how it fits a lot. I like how it fits a lot better than the Reverso I had. I don't know that this is going to fit better. I suppose next time in Dallas, I could try on a Malt. They won't have this one, but they'll have a different one, probably with similar dimensions though. And I could see kind of how it sits on the wrist, but I'm just not sure at this point. Like so far this year, and we're real early in the year, but dress watch wise, I've really only been rotating through the Gondolo, the Longa 1, and my Glasuta 60s. I haven't even worn the Breguet this year, the Classique. So I love dress watches, but I just don't know if I'd wear it enough. But I don't have anything white gold in the collection anymore, and I do like it, especially Vacheron. They do a gray gold. They don't like AP always rhodium plates theirs. It's way too shiny in my opinion. I like it with the grayer color. So I think I would really like this one a lot. I just don't know if it wears all that well. But that's probably the weirdest shaped one. 1921 also from Vacheron, but everyone talks about the 1921. So it's just, but I like that one as well. So Patrick says, Dr. Pepper Zero Club. Yeah, I hid the truth earlier. It also gave me an opportunity to wipe my nose. But I always feel bad drinking on stream. Not drinking, not like, yeah, that's all you need is a drunk watches with Dennis stream. Who knows what rabbit holes we would go down. But I always feel bad. But again, I'm not trading off with another panelist, so I start to run out of air and spit, which is important. So Patrick says, incorrect compliment in a McDonald's drive-thru. Nice yacht master, but I was wearing my Tudor Black 58 925. Oh, I do. I have been thinking about the night. That's not a weird shaped watch, but I have been thinking about getting the 925. I liked that burgundy Tudor that came out, but mostly because I like the bracelet it came on. The two things I don't like about the silver Tudor are it doesn't come on a bracelet, and I hate that they did a display case back on that movement. But I complain about that on all the Tudors with the display case back. But maybe on I don't know. I feel weird. I don't really like the cloth strap per se. I feel weird about having a dive watch on leather. I always felt it's inappropriate. Like they should have done a nice rubber, kind of like what Blancpain will often do is have like a nice rubber strap. I don't know. Anyway, I haven't decided. I only own one dive watch, my Baltic. So, but I'm still on the list for the no date sub. So perhaps eventually I'll have two dive watches. We'll just have to wait and see on that. John says, your thoughts on Tim Masso? I was on a show with him years ago. I don't know if I've seen the show or not. I like Tim. Tim is, again, much like Mark, Tim freely admits he's working for a dealer. Unlike Mark, he's not as critical as I wished he would push it. Like I would like to see him be more, but like in his live streams, when people are talking about the watches they wear, no one really, well, unless you do it for a roast, like I've done a few roasts and had people volunteer their collections. No one really likes to hear their watch get run down by someone and say, "Yeah." I mean, I try and be here. I'll be like, "No, I wouldn't buy that. No, I don't like the way that looks. No, this is what bothers me." Because I do think people want that honesty, but on a broader level, a lot of people, they get a little insecure with it. Tim walks a very fine line, I think, but he acknowledges where his paychecks come from, and on other stuff like the 1916 podcast, which I don't watch on YouTube, so I didn't list it, but I do listen to it on my, I have it as part of my on my podcatcher on my phone. um I feel like you get a lot more out of him with that in terms of things that he didn't like or mistakes companies make and things like that. So yeah, no, and he's a wealth of knowledge. Like, Bill Sanders is good, but and I'd say Bill might be able to beat Tim on movement tech and knowing about movements, but on overall just breadth of watch knowledge, I don't personally know anyone else who's creating content who can match Tim. Tim just it is he has a like encyclopedic knowledge of, like, it's I people pat them in this hobby. You'll trick people into thinking you're an expert if you can memorize 5 Rolex reference numbers. You'll get a lot more people thinking you're an expert if you can also add another 5 Patek reference numbers. But very few people bother with references beyond that. But Tim has knowledge on it. Now, I don't particularly care about whether or not you know reference numbers. Since I don't know them, I don't know what you're talking about when you say them. So I just end up saying they're feeling stupid. But that he's able to spool off the stuff about the watches, and then I look him up later. I'm like, wow, it's interesting that he could read that in that moving chat and immediately recall what the watch looks like. And I'm like, I start to get them all mixed up, and I'll be like, I might know like what the model is, but I won't know like what the config. Like, you could tell me a Rolex GMT Master 2 reference number. I might be able to tell you it's a GMT, but I wouldn't be able to tell you if it was a Pepsi or a Batman. Like, I can't do that, especially as the digits have gotten longer. And now I don't know if he can do Omega. The modern Omega references are just absolute madness. Collectible says, love that Vacheron. This was the one we were talking about. It may not be weird enough to take time from your Patek. I'm saving for a Piaget Polo where it looks straight up like a rectangular bracelet. Piaget that's a brand I've kicked around getting into, but I do not know. I haven't found one. I looked at some of the polos, and the case shape didn't click with me, and then all the other stuff is much more classic. And then I'm not sure I can get into the avant-garde enough where you have the polos with the straight across vertical lines, like the gold line. I'm messing up the name, but the one, the vintage one that was like in Casino with Robert De Niro, and now they brought it back and they priced it like the 222. I like the 222 more, so I just couldn't get into it. Koji, thank you for being a club member, by the way. Paywall watches with Dennis drunk live stream would be an intriguing concept. I think it would be an absolute disaster, but which is why I am not agreeing to do it. But what I am agreeing to do is in this live stream. We actually went about 15 minutes longer than I thought it would go. But thank you for your questions. Thank you for sharing your collecting philosophies, and hope you enjoyed it. I know the first one got some good feedback, so hopefully you like this one. I do plan to do the live stream next Saturday. It will probably be more covering new watches. I wasn't really feeling talking specifically about the LVMH releases per se. But if you guys have thoughts on ones you want me to talk about, you can always leave a comment on this one, and I'll go back and review those before I put I won't put the live stream together until Friday at the earliest. So anyway, that's it. I actually need to go help someone with a pinball project, so I am going to get my coat and take off. And I wish you all a really good weekend. Take care, everybody.